Well, every episode I like to start from the beginning. So, George, tell us where you grew up and kind of give us a snapshot of what childhood was like. Did you play sports? Were your parents, involved in church, things like that? Kind of just take us from the beginning there.
Sure, man. Yeah. So I was actually born in Vienna, Austria. My dad
Nice.
played in the Vienna Symphony, he played French horn. So we moved to the States when I was like getting close to 3 years old. So I remember like little teeny snippets of our little apartment, but for all intents and purposes, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon, a little bit west of the Portland, Oregon area, in the suburbs. And yeah, growing up was pretty awesome, right? I'm a kind of in the middle of the millennial era, near the older generation of that block of kids, but 90s kid, right? So playing outside, riding bikes, shooting hoops, like doing all the things. It was, my early childhood was pretty good. I have pretty solid memories of all that. And yeah, like me and my brother and all our friends in the cul-de-sac, we were just like outside all day till the sun went down, had to go home for dinner type of thing. So
Yeah.
that was generally how life went for quite a while. Yeah, I was super into sports. I did like everything, baseball, basketball, super competitive in taekwondo. That ended up kind of becoming my primary thing. Uh, Competed in the Junior Olympics multiple times, have a couple gold medals, a couple bronze medals from all that. Uh, just really clicked with that, loved it. Go figure, I end up joining the military one day. A lot of similarities between martial arts and like, all the rigor and discipline and respect and everything. And just loved all of that. Loved the structure of it. Loved being able to compete on the mat, sparring and everything. So, yeah, that was like early childhood. As far as like my family went, early on, as your kid, you just think like everything's fine, right? Like that's all
Hmm.
you know is the home you grow up in. You just think that's all normal. And then obviously later on in life, you maybe start to realize like some things aren't so great, right? So I was about 14, 15 when I really started noticing like, you know, I wonder if maybe this is not like how things should be, right? Like our home was super intense. Everything was life and death. You're just always walking on eggshells. If I did one little thing out of line, it was just like swift retribution on all that. And so, I externally, like at school and everything, kind of unintentionally made a lot of enemies because I was just naturally so like on the defense all the time that I would just treat everyone as like a threat,
Hmm.
and so it's just no one wants to be around someone like that, right? And
Yeah.
so over my teenage years, I started like slowly realizing that, hey, I need to like work on me and then, recognize what's going on in the home. Well, it really kind of got forced. The issue got forced when I was about 15. My parents separated, and then a year later, when I was six, I actually think it was the week of my 16th birthday, they finalized their divorce. So,
Wow.
um, that was definitely a pretty big kind of earth shattering moment for me. I'd lived a pretty comfortable life up to that point, right? We were
Hmm.
relatively middle class, 90s kid type of American family. Life was pretty good for most people during that era. Um, and so this was kind of like my first real hardship in life was like my parents divorcing. And, we went to church and all that kind of stuff. So, it was all taboo and, um, like that's not supposed to happen to us, right? That's what
Right.
unbelievers do. And so
Right.
it just like through that whole mess, I was the oldest, so I kind of got thrown in the middle, almost playing like middleman between
Mm.
my mom and dad. And in hindsight, my mom was definitely far more the guilty party and in that front, just oversharing things with me. She'd say things like, "Oh, because you're older, I'm going to share this with you. The other kids won't understand." And so I kind of like really got pulled into way more than I ever should have. And, now I have the beauty of hindsight and a lot of like time to educate myself on these things. And it's really a really, really unhealthy for a young, teenage boy's mind to be put in that type of situation. It just really skews your sense of boundaries and like how you view the world. And so that only amplified all of my own internal struggles already and kind of just made things a lot worse. So I'll pause there, kind of like hit a ton of things. I'm
No,
sure you
you're
have,
good.
but
What was the
yeah, it's just
custody?
super intense all the time, and that translated to everywhere in my life, and yeah,
What
caused a
was
lot
it?
of issues for me.
So when your parents finalized the divorce near your 16th birthday, what was the custody arrangement like? Were you able to still maintain a relationship with your dad, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so this is where it gets like really messy.
Okay.
I Again, this is like I think the laws have changed a lot now. Like dads get a lot more rights generally now than they did back then. Um, and I think it varies from state to state. Oregon
Hmm.
is, at least back then, was definitely not father friendly. it's kind of like the whole believe all women thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, so my mom is she can weave a good story, and she was very convincing in court, I guess, and very convincing with us. I was led to believe that my dad was the sole cause of all the problems, and it was all his fault, and he was the one leaving, and it was kind of the other way around. And I don't know all the details, and quite frankly, I don't really want to make it my business. Like, this is so far in the past, like I don't really carry this anymore. But um, what I was led to believe by my mother is probably not the full truth, right? To put it lightly. And um, yeah, so I was mad at my dad a lot,
Okay.
like really mad at my dad. Didn't want to see him. And then in terms of like the court order, like we barely saw our dad. Like once a
Oh
week
man.
for like a couple hours a week was like all he was authorized to see us.
Wow.
It had to be in a public place. It was insane. So in hindsight, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there was no abuse. There was no substance abuse. There was no like legal reason that it shouldn't have been 50-50 down the middle. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
today, I believe, like, I know for a fact, because I have friends right now who are kind of going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing with their kids here in Tennessee, and it's 50-50. Like, unless there's some egregious sin by the father, it's going to be 50-50, right? That was not the case for us. So that also really amplified all of my. So I was very insecure, right? I was a
Yeah.
really tiny kid. Then you throw in all this kind of stuff, the intensity at home, the always walking on eggshells, and the divorce, and now my mom's put me in the middle of it, and I'm led to believe my dad's the cause of all the problems, and now I'm angry at my dad. It was just like I was spiraling out of control from like an emotional point of view, and it definitely stunted me. So I was emotionally pretty much stuck as a pissed off teenager. So that carried through even into adulthood. And it wasn't until probably honestly my early 30s that I really started getting a grip on that, because it takes a long time to unpack all this crap,
It